what I've noticed is that, and by the way, there are habits that I'm sure all of us and I as well, right? That I've been doing for a long time, that I've cultivated actually. I'll give you one example. Book reading. The first book I read, before this, I didn't even read a book at all, was in 2001. Now, I used to buy books before that, actually. And the first book that I read, and the only novel I've read in my life, was the Da Vinci Code. Before that, I used to pick, Sukumar used to give a lot of references. Obviously Sukumar has been reading for a long. So he'll say he'll say Innovator's Dilemma, he'll say Good to Great. So I'll go and buy those books from Barnes and Noble, keep it, nothing will happen. I'll read like 1-2 pages and then nothing will happen. So I was deeply frustrated with it. So I decided I'm not going to read these books. I'm going to read something very, very interesting. So I went and bought the Da Vinci Code because at that time that was, everybody said it's like this great novel and all that.
That's great. Excellent.
Yeah, it is a fantastic novel, basically. So I read that book cover to cover for the very first time in my life. And it helped, because it was that novel. After that, I've never read even a single novel. That was the only novel I read. But the point is that that started my habit of reading. Now, what I've realized in that process is that I can actually build habits that are hard to build. It was not easy. It was hard basically, because before that I've never read books. I've read some articles and things, that too very sporadically. Today I read a lot actually. Every morning I read. Whenever I get time, I read. Now,
Nice.
what I've learned is, and this applies to other things as well. What I've learned is actually and this points to the why, right? I find that things stick when you change, actually. That is, when your mindset shifts about something. For example, my mindset about book reading was, what's the big deal? Whatever, right? All that stuff, right? I don't need to read books, all that stuff. But then the moment I started reading, initially it was, sporadic. Then I started this. Then I convinced myself I can read books cover to cover. Then I started reading other kinds of books, basically. And what I noticed was, one was, obviously I'm reading, right? There's an external outcome that you can see. I'm buying books, I'm reading more, all of that stuff. But more importantly, the inner conversation with myself started shifting. The inner conversation of my relationship with reading and books started shifting. And it's largely an inner conversation. This is not visible outside. So to the point where the mindset starts shifting. When that mindset shifts, the habits become almost permanent for life, because it becomes part of your identity. Same thing with design thinking, actually. Initially, I knew something was there. Sukumar encouraged me. I went to Stanford. We went to NID, whatever. But then the actual shift did not happen at that time, right? I did something, it worked, it didn't work, all of that stuff. But then the inner conversation about it within me started shifting. My own relationship with it started shifting. It's very similar to what Sukumar said, right? Like, you do a dunce list, but there is something you're noticing about your relationship with it that starts shifting. In that process, I think you become very clear about the why, right? Because it becomes that shift that you're not trying to internalize. It happens. See, this is the
So
key.
you
You're
are
not trying to
saying,
make it happen. It happens through the experience, basically.
Hmm. So you
So
are saying you can get hold of the why, or you can realize the why
the
when you actually do it and experience it
the why
at least
the why
once,
you
couple of
need
times.
you need an intellectual why when you begin, but the actual why emerges through experience, basically.
Mm.
So there is
Yeah.
there is some why. Yeah, I need to do exercise because I want to lose whatever, that sort of thing, right? Or I want to be fit. That's fine, but that's the surface level why, because you need to get started. But then when you experience something, the actual why, the nuance, that very deeply personal why emerges, and it becomes part of yourself. Now remember, so this is why I keep talking about the payoff, right? When we talk about fractals, basically, the payoff is inspires that inner dialogue. It kind of makes people go, that was interesting. I did not see it that way at all. So yeah, you have to do this. The repetition is important, but the repetition this is the struggle I've been having, right? The repetition has to have that payoff. The payoff, in my view, is it makes someone sit up and take notice and question something. So something shifts, it's like a switch. Something shifts. When that shift happens, it's very hard for people to unsee it after that point in time.
We don't even know like what is the strong why.
Yeah.
So now would that mean, for example, your reading habit, like you mentioned about the Da Vinci Code book. So it's like experience panita, then probably that might just trigger kind of why.
Yeah.
Is that...
Yeah, not any kind of experience. It's a great question. I think what I've observed is it's not just experience, sort of garden variety, right? It has to be this high payoff experience. Now, the question is, how do you create high payoff experiences consistently? That's the hard part. Now, I'll give you another example. I went to the business school at the University of Chicago. I think I've shared this with Sukumar, I think, multiple times. There was this leadership course. It was like a 6-month mini sort of MBA program that I did. There was this finance they taught, something they taught. These are some, sort of Nobel prize winning, whatever, professors coming and teaching. None of that really resonated with me. There was one course that, at this time I was going through a struggle in my career. I was kind of, it was hard. I was kind of disillusioned. I was in Chicago by myself. My family was in India. All sorts of things were going on. So I was kind of looking for clarity and sort of whatever, right? But I just attended because I thought, okay, let me just attend and see. Now, there was this one program. I still remember the professor's name, Susan Anuzio. I think she's gotten divorced or remarried. Her name has changed now, but at that time it was Susan Anuzio. She taught this course on leadership. And there was this one exercise that we did that just blew my mind for whatever reason. I still remember that, sitting in that classroom with my fellow students. And then I was sort of deeply moved by it. What I realized was all the problems that I've been having with my career, etc., relationships, etc., was because of my perception. Now, this might sound very, very trivial right now, but at that time, it was like this big thing. It just shook my world. So I actually didn't want to forget that moment. So I coined a phrase called perception miscommunication. I kept repeating it. And Shobha would tell me, you are going crazy. This also will pass. I said, no, watch this. This is going to stick. That sort of started unraveling, and I started becoming a different person. Now, this might sound too good to be true, but all that happened. Now, as a memory of that, I went and bought the book that she had written. She had written a couple of books. I went and bought that book. One of the books she had written was Communicoding. It's just an old book, because that was the whole exercise we did in class, actually, based on that book. I went and bought that in a whatever old bookstore because it was not available and all that stuff. And I still have that book. And I've written things down. My point is, what I've realized is that what matters are high payoff experiences, not any garden variety experience. When the high payoff experience happens, then it can powerfully shift people, sit up and take notice. Now, creating high payoff experiences is the hard part. And that's what I mean by experience. So experience have to, now how you can do that, to your question, Anbu, you don't have to actually start with a why. See, when I sat in that class, I did not have like some big why and all that stuff, right? I just went and sat in that class basically. But that experience gave me maybe not a very clear why, but something like a very, very exciting stepping stone for a why. That's what it did. So you don't need a why upfront to me, because you cannot know the why anyway, actually. This is the catch-22.
Yeah.
So you say, look, yeah, that's why this, I think Sukumar talked about doing some novel things, right? Whatever. This embracing otherness is important, because who knows what experience you're going to get, because there might be some experience that will just give you this newfound why that will make some habit for you, meaning you become a very different person after that. So this, to me, these experiences are very, very critical.
But one way in
Sanjay,
which you can create a high payoff experience intentionally and with intent. Just like you talk about intentional practice and learning, right? So there is one thing which has worked extremely well for me when creating, you can actually create a high payoff experience instead of waiting for it to happen by chance.
no, agreed, Kumran. All I'm saying is, see, there's a theory of creating high payoff experiences, and there's a actual of how that gets created. I mean, how it gets created consistently. My point is, whatever I do think that obviously you can create experiences that can move people. That's not what I'm debating. I'm saying that doing that consistently for people who are not necessarily believers coming
So
in.
how do you create a high payoff experience? What is the method?
So in my view, I think,
no, you just said there is a method that is there. I'm asking what is the method which one can practice to create a high payoff. So we are clear. We are reaching a point where we say high payoff experience is needed to get to that. What is the method to intentionally create a high payoff?
so,
Do something and then pray for a high impact to happen.
no, I will tell you. Okay.
Tell me something that you have tried, your experience.
Yeah. So I'll give you an art of living example. Okay. Because as teachers, I'm an art of living teacher. I have to teach people the art of living. Okay. This is hard topic. This is not like physics, chemistry, biology, etc. Right? Now, what I've observed is there are various category of teachers in art of living. Okay. The teachers who people gravitate to are the teachers that actually create these high payoff experiences for participants. Now, how does that actually happen? This is from direct experience, I'm telling you, right? Now, I don't want to categorize. I'll take Shobha. Shobha is a teacher who can create high payoff experiences for a lot of people very, very quickly, very consistently. How does that happen? For you to create a high payoff experience, you should have experienced the high payoff experience yourself first. This is a basic foundation. Otherwise, you are just peddling some mechanics of some theory. This is from my experience. This is my point of view, right? So you should have experienced that yourself in a way where your inner dialogue has shifted to saying, okay, why is this thing happening to me again and again? Then what happens is, from that you extract, okay, how can I put somebody through an experience that I have experienced? This is what we try to do in art of living, right? Of course, there are tools, methods, all of that is there, right? It's not like we have to do all this on our own. There is a teaching manual, everything is there. But despite a teaching manual, there are teachers who do teach the manual, so to speak, right? But they can't deliver that experience to the participant. So my experience has been that you need nuance and clarity around why you are able to experience it for yourself in the first place, that inner sort of conversation. Then there is enough and more vocabulary and framework and all of that stuff outside to package it. That's not a problem, actually.
So
the actual
basically
crux
what
of
you're
it
telling is the method comes I mean, what are the first step, or like when you do a lab, you say required material for doing the experiment, right? Yeah, material required. So you're telling to do that method, the mentor or the teacher needs to have had some sort of that high experience.
With that
That
method.
is a very critical entry point.
With
So
that method.
now I
actually.
kind of shifted to ours. So unless as a mentor, we have a mind-blowing digital transformation experience ourselves, not heard, but we haven't experienced it, it is going to be hard to do it for the mentees. Am I correct?
I would say digital transformation is a big thing. Yes, that will be very nice if we can do that. I would say just at the fractal level, for example, it goes back to what Aparna was saying, right? Belief, basically. So at a fractal level, I should have had a higher payoff with any of the fractals for me to teach that well, for me to mentor that well, for me to coach that well, right? Just having a method is not good enough, right? That payoff, you are right, I have to experience that. Now at a broader scale, that means what? Yeah, those things could have accumulated into some digital transformation experiences that worked and also didn't work, right? That we were part of, that we bring to the table.
If anything, that is why we are able to teach this.
Exactly.
We have done breakthrough disruptive innovation, billions of dollars. So
yeah, that one
ties to
cognizant example is clearly there.
But it is not personal, Sukumar. It is not even personal for me. It
No,
is
but
that
hearsay.
part I don't know.
It-
What do you mean by
Because
personal? You are
Sanjay
part
just
of-
said it's not hearsay. It has to be
But you are
personal.
part
That's what
of it,
I'm
no?
picking from what
Ah.
Sanjay says.
You are not
So
part
it
of
is
one
personal
cognition.
to me, no,
We
Kumaran.
still
It is
have the
highly
debate whether
personal
it
to
is a
me.
breakthrough or not. That is an ongoing debate, Sukumar.
So, okay, I
No,
think,
but-
That part
but-
I
but-
don't know.
No,
You
but-
have to deal with
but
that.
one
But Kumaran-
cognizant, just that example, sorry, is very personal to me. Is it not personal to you? Is it
Yeah,
not? Would you
not to
say that?
all I'm telling. Few is
Hmm.
that's the thing.
No, but
No, but
not to
Kumaran, you
all means
often-
what? It has to be
I-
personal to all of us. We are the teachers. Not to
One co-
all that experienced one cognizant. That's to me irrelevant. We all did breakthrough innovation and it created a major transformation. And it is highly personal because we did it ourselves. I don't know how much more personal anything can get.
Likewise, your story is also so personal, no? When you talk about how you did it,
consulting thing that you talk about.
Yeah. When you speak about it, there's
That's
so
your
much of
personal thing.
there's
That's what
so
I was
much of
That
going
is
to
this
say.
thing in it.
personal, but that will
Ah.
never become your story or Sanjay's story, right? That consulting thing is just,
Doesn't
it
have
is
to
my
be, Kumaran, that's the
experience.
point. Because we are just trying to demonstrate that, for example, CQA, right? CQA, you talk about that story because that's where it showed up and that's where you've seen the payoff. For me,
Correct.
CQA showed up in so many other ways that I will talk about in my own way. For Sukumar, it will show up in different way. For Jayashree, it will show up in different way. It is impossible for all of us to have the same story personalized. How is that possible? It's impossible.
Ah,
But
that-
each of us have to have some high payoff experience. That is important.
That we have to recognize this high payoff experience.
Exactly. That we have to recognize as a high payoff
Not
experiences.
theoretically, right?
It
I have
cannot be given
experienced
to
it
us,
myself.
basically. Yes.
so this high payoff experience is different than this aha moment kind of thing, right? I mean,
It
aha
is
moment
same
is
thing.
like
No? See,
once.
what is a payoff, right?
Okay.
What is a payoff? Let's define what is a payoff. A payoff is the aha moment, right? It shifts, it questions one of your conventional assumptions about maybe the thing itself, about the world, about why things are working or not working, whatever, basically. It is that is the making of a mindset, right? Mindset is what? A bunch of assumptions you hold to be true. That's what makes up a mindset, correct? What you believe to be true. So when some of those beliefs get enhanced, shifted, challenged, you have a aha moment.
But Sanjay, for you to make, I'm just curious. You definitely have had a high payoff in terms of volunteering with Art of Living. You have a personal experience. You volunteered. I even heard Jayashree say how both of you as husband and wife are so involved. So definitely there's a high payoff.
Yeah.
Then there is still a blockage in making it a daily habit. Then high payoff should work here, isn't it?
No, correct. Now, that's where I think it's not enough just for that, right? You need the scaffolding around it as well. That's why I'm still talking about it. Otherwise, it'll be, irrelevant to me, right? The point is, I still think of myself as a volunteer and I do volunteer compared to what I was doing, let's say, 15 years back. All I'm saying is I need to do more of that, basically, right? Now, and there, I need to find ways of expressing that part of my identity more and more, basically, which I'm not able to do. So I'm not saying that, but let's assume that that volunteering thing was itself, the high payoff itself was not there, right? I wouldn't even talk about it. It's frankly irrelevant to me. It's not even in my sort of world at all, actually. Right now, it's a very important part of the world. It's part of my identity. I continue to wrestle with it. I continue to go back to it. For example, I do teach, right? I do teach, I do share, I do make my time available to people. I do volunteer. It's not like I'm completely cut off from it.
Yeah.
But my point is I need to do more, basically.
Yeah,
of
you
it.
want to transition it into a habit. There is high payoff evidently, but transitioning it into a habit, we need something more. High
Yes.
payoff is one of the ingredients which is not enough, is what I am
Yes.
concluding from what you say.
Correct. That's a very good observation. Yes, that is correct. So you just need, but if without that high payoff, no amount of repetition is going to help. That's my point.
I think that's where that why you have to have created by now. Highly personal. The consistency in habit form requires a more powerful why. From what I have observed, should be so powerful that on the day that you don't want to do it, because every day you are not going to get that high payoff, but you still need to do it. That's not easy. But the high payoff is needed to hook you onto the topic.
Correct.
Maybe, but I've observed that sometimes I just stick with it. In fact, there are things that I do for which there is probably not even any payoff that I can even know. I keep doing in the hope that one day it will come, or it doesn't matter. Somebody has taught me, I will just do it.
That's a very rare quality.
I was going to say, Sanjay.
It's a very, very rare quality in human beings. What you're
a
doing.
saint here.
So we can't expect that from the average person. It's very hard, actually.
Yeah. So there are two things. There is the high payoff experience in the beginning itself. Try to give something in the start so that you start to change you are even having the possibility of considering it. If it is a May experience, then maybe it will just, among the 50 things that pass by me, this will also get added. But then if you want to convert it to a habit, you have to convert it into a why. And I think Kumaran has posted a comment here, the intention can help you. But what I find is it's much more granular than an intention. It should be very, very personal, that I can't just copy it over. I don't know if there is a framework to develop that, but I think that's kind of where.
Why do you say intention if you fractalize it, right? So why do you think it won't help you reach that?
No, it will, Kumaran. The point I'm making is it's intention is what. Intention has several levels, right? Be kind is intention. Everybody knows that. But I don't know very many people who are actually very kind.
So for me, if you look at it, I'll say my intention of loving Kumaran is to be non-judgmental. Okay. Now, when it comes down to, let's say, the journals which I started doing, the technical journals, okay. Typing something which I already know is boring. Okay. It's a judgment that I have. Boring is a judgment. Now, I'm saying since I'm a loving Kumaran, every time I journal, I'm able to be a loving Kumaran. This is right down to why I journal that day morning. Okay. Or even the fact that I have built a habit of brushing teeth. I think I have a judgment, there's no need to brush your teeth. Now, obviously, that is very personal. So What I fail to understand is if you take that intention that you have and you zoom in, you will hit that personal part.
I am sure you will hit. The point is, what does that, how do you go from here to here is the question, Kumaram.
Yeah, so
Yes,
that
you are
is,
right. It will be in the space. That's what I said. It will be in the space of intention. But how do you go from that intention to that highly personalized way? You can sit and think because you have done this. I have started brushing teeth. If you're doing that consistently, you think about what is that granular level why that you develop.
so
Maybe you don't need it. I don't know. It's
the
just my
method
hypothesis. I need something very specific.
I'm trying to tell the method that I have used. You have an intention. I felt I don't want to brush teeth. Then I kind of the method is okay, I'm not able to do this habit. Very clear, evident, actual data. I'm not motivated. Aad modelam pallu thichudha irukudha. Okay. This is my logic.
Correct.
For 45 years of my life, that is strongly built. Okay. அதனால எப்பயாவது பொழுது போலனா for a change பல் தேய்ப்பேன். I don't even know why. Okay. Now, I just, okay, so everybody is saying brushing teeth. Okay. Now, of course, it was just one curious experiment. Hey, brushing teeth habit க்குறாங்க. எனக்கு அது habit-ஆவே இல்ல. Okay. Now, at least as a mentor, why don't I build that as a habit? Okay. So it's very different for me. Apo, then I kind of said, why am I not brushing teeth? Now, I think in most of the cases, at least for me and for everybody, there is a belief or a judgment you have against brushing or whatever is there. Adanalada and we are not able to do it. Apo, okay, so there is a judgment here that is, which I'm having. So இப்போ சுடருக்கு I have had extensive discussion. So சுடருக்கு வந்து efficient-ஆ இருக்கணும் அப்படின்ட்டு இருந்தது. So whenever he has a problem and he's not able to do something, then ask a question from that intention. How is this working against your being efficient? So the question is actually in the design thinking-ல வந்து flip your thing, right? How do I doங்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு habit build பண்ண முடியலன்னா what part of how is my intention failing in helping me build my habit? Whatever is that granular thing that is happening. For example, it's like, let's take, we can actually, Anbu, what's your magic word?
Passionate.
Sorry?
Passionate.
Passionate, okay. அதோட one-liner என்ன?
Means one-liner mean?
Okay. நம்ம மெத்தட்ல அந்த பர்சனல் இதுன்னு சொல்லி வருவோம்ல அப்ப ஃபைனல் ஒன் வேர்ட் சென்ட் இப்ப எந்த வந்து see a magic word loving Kumaran, but என்னோட வேர்டு வந்து என்னன்னா lot of people don't get it. It is to be non-judgmental in all situations. That is my one-liner intention. So அந்த மாதிரி உன்னோட one-liner என்ன ஞாபகம் இருக்கா?
Now, okay, okay, so we need this exercise, right? No, I'm passionate about things, like passionate about all the things that I do.
Sorry, what is?
I'm passionate about all the things I do.
You're passionate about all the things that you do. Okay, very good. இப்போ ஒரு break பண்ண நீ ஒரு habit எடுத்துக்கோ. What you built and you breaking it. What is that? ஏதாவது last thing that you broke சொல்ல.
Journaling.
You broke the
You're talking about
right?
cycling, journaling, all that.
Cycling, yeah.
Okay, so cycling habit break ஆயிடுச்சு. Correct? அப்போ why am I not passionate about cycling? I broke cycling as a habit. Okay. Am I not passionate about it? Question mark. You pit it against your own intention. Then at a granular level, you will actually have to accept, and you've said about everything. So that means that you cannot say I'm not passionate against cycling. ஏன்னா உன் இன்டென்ஷன்ல எவ்ரிதிங் போட்டிருக்க நீ அதனால சைக்கிளிங் எனக்கு இல்ல அப்படின்னு சொல்லி தப்பிச்சுக்க முடியாது. See, that is how the powerful is. எனக்கு வந்து non-judgmental
சுத்தி இருக்கிறது கூட தான் சண்டை கட்டிட்டு இருக்கிறேன், என் கூடவே சண்டையை கிளப்பிடுறியே.
Yeah, you can try that. We have run out of time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Try that.
Sukumar, would
I
you
think
have a
maybe
couple of
it's a good
minutes?
No,
exercise.
that's
All of you try to develop a why for the habits that you are not able to build.
That's a very good suggestion. Yeah, that's should try.
And connecting to the intention also seems, yes. Thanks, Kumran.
Really good.
And I think the why itself,
So,
maybe this is also missed. The why itself is a two-part thing. One, you start off with something. You need to do something for a reasonable period of time for a payoff to come. Or maybe, like I said, payoff never even comes sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That we will leave as an exception. But at least you need to stick till the payoff comes, and then by then you would have figured out the more powerful. But you don't start with a very powerful why, because I don't think that's
Powerful
true.
why is very important. Yeah.
It's emergent. The powerful why is emergent. It's not
I know you've
deliberate.
gone past the time, but I just have one question for Sukumar. We can take it later. You said, no, sometimes when somebody tells me you have to do it, I continue doing it. So which means the why is not predominant there. Or the why they said you accept it and continue. What is it?
That's what. Good. I'm
Because
able
they
to do
told
that.
me the why, I'm going ahead with it. I don't have to really experiment or really believe in it.
Yeah, good. So where the things that I want to do myself is where. So all this journaling and this something I want to do. No, nobody told me you should do it. Whereas the other things that people say you do it, somehow I'm able to take that message and do it. I don't know. Don't ask me why I do that. It's just me.
No, I'm trying to figure out and trying to extract their sincere for me.
சுகுமார் வந்து ஒரு தனி மனுஷர் அவரு.
என்ன work
அவர்
ஆகும்னா,
சொல்றதெல்லாம்
இல்ல இல்ல அவர் மைண்டுக்குள்ள ஒரு ஸ்டூல் போட்டு உட்கார ட்ரை பண்றேன்.
மைண்டுக்குள்ள
probably சுகுமார் அலோவ் பண்றது கஷ்டம். பட் ப்ராபப்ளி நான் எப்படி என்ன ட்ரெயின் பண்ணிருக்கேன்னா, ஒரு டைம் ஃப்ரேமுக்குள்ள பண்ணலாம். சம்பந்தமே இல்லாதது ஒண்ணு, எனக்கு இன்ட்ரெஸ்டே இல்லாதது ஒண்ணு யாராவது சொல்றாங்க. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள், லெட்ஸ் சே
You did that Sabarimala thing, no?
that Sabarimala thing was a slightly long kind
Even
of
brushing
a
the
thing.
teeth.
Brushing the teeth. இல்ல, யாராவது சொல்றது கேக்குறது சொல்றேன், அந்த மாதிரி. இப்போ வந்து ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள்
இதுவும் அந்த கேட்டகரி தானே.
எது?
You don't believe in brushing the teeth. Somebody told you it's good, it's important, so you
அது டைம் ஃப்ரேம். சபரிமலை வந்து 90 டேஸ்ங்கிறதுனால என்னால பண்ண முடிஞ்சது. when I set a time frame. So இப்போ வந்து லெட்ஸ் சே ஒரு யாக்னம் பண்ணணும் அப்படிங்கிறாங்க. ஓகே, இட் வில் கிவ் சம் குட் பெனிஃபிட்ஸ், அதெல்லாம் ஆகும் அப்படிங்கிறாங்க. ஓகே, என்னால 90 டே யாக்னம்லாம் பண்ண முடியாது. ஓகே, 1 டே கூட என்னால பண்ண முடியாது. ப்ராபப்ளி 2 ஹவர்ஸ்னா ஃபுல் சின்சியரிட்டியோட பண்ண முடியும், அந்த டைம் ஸ்கோப் இருந்தா. அந்த டைம் ஸ்கோப்புக்கு என்னோட திங்கிங் ஒரு பிலீஃபை இது பண்ணலாம். what do you call that? சஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணலாம், அபென்ஸ்ல வைக்கலாம், சஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ண முடியும். அது வந்து ப்ராபப்ளி ஒரு 5 minutes இல்ல 10 minutes அந்த மாதிரி. ஸ்மிதாக்கு வந்து ஹாரர் படம்லாம் பிடிக்காது. ஓகே, அதனால வந்துட்டு போட்டுட்டு ஒரு 5 நிமிஷம் மட்டும் நீ பாரு அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம். ஆர் ஷி ஹேஸ் தட், ஷி கான்ட் பி வித்வுட் ஹர் பிரீத்திங். ஸோ கௌதம் அண்ட் கோபிகா வந்து தே ஆக்சுவலி ப்ராக்டிசர். அம்மா அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு தலைவாணி எடுத்து மூடி வைப்பாங்க. நாட் ஈவன் pressing, கீப்பிங் தட் வில் ஸ்டார்ட் இவோக்கிங் தோஸ் ரியாக்ஷன்ஸ். ஸோ ஒரு குட்டி டைம் ஃப்ரேம்ல அந்த இதை பிலீஃபை சஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணி ப்ராக்டிஸ் பண்ணலாம். தட் இஸ் ஒன் வே. அதை பண்ணி இப்போ ப்ராபப்ளி ஒரு சம்பந்தமே இல்லாதது ஏதோ ஒன்றுத்துக்கு, ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் போன சாட்டர்டே காஃப்கா செஷன் ரெஜிஸ்டர் பண்ணேன் போய் உக்காடுறதுக்கு. அது ஒரு half a டேங்கிறதுனால ஓகே அப்படின்னு ஒத்துக்கிட்டேன். அதுவும் சில கண்டிஷன் இருந்தது. இங்க மைக்ரோசாஃப்ட் ஆஃபீஸ்ல half a day 10 to 11 இருந்துச்சு அப்படிங்கிறது. இன் ஸ்பைட் ஆஃப் மீ டெல்லிங் டெக்னாலஜி எனக்கு பிடிக்காதுன்னு. ஆனா என்ன ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா, அவங்க வந்து அதை ஷிஃப்ட் பண்ணிட்டாங்க ஷோலிங்கநல்லூருக்கு. அதனால நான் அதுக்கு போகல, ஏன்னா அதோட காஸ்ட் ஜாஸ்தி ஆயிடுச்சு. மைக்ரோசாஃப்ட் ஆஃபீஸே இருந்ததுன்னா போயிருப்பேன். அவங்க அதை இதுக்கு ஷிஃப்ட் பண்ண உடனே போல. சோ நம்ம காஸ்ட் கம்மியா இருக்கிறப்ப could be another thing.
No, I think you have a point. Maybe for that interim period, when you are still figuring out the powerful why, you can suspend your bias. Tell yourself that, hey, it's only temporary until I figure out. Maybe that will help you. I don't know. Good idea.
It's like
Pramod.
our
Try it.
pokey-okey kind of a thing, what we teach.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.